This week for our videos, we had to research either an earthquake or a volcanic eruption. I chose to look deeper into the volcanic eruption that occurred at the Nevado del Ruiz. So this eruption occurred on November 13th at 3:06 p.m. in 1985 in central Colombia. The Nevado del Ruiz is a stratovolcano that has an elevation of 5,321 meters or 17,457 feet, and it's an explosive volcano, although this particular explosion was relatively small. Even though the explosion in 1985 was considered small, there was still a lot of damage done to the surrounding cities. The heat from the explosion melted the snow and the ice that was on the glacier on top of the volcano, and then that developed 3 lahars, and then these 3 lahars traveled up to 30 kilometers per hour and then were responsible for killing 23,000 people. And this was Colombia's worst natural disaster and the second deadliest volcanic eruption of the 20th century. A total of 50 schools, 2 hospitals, and more than 5,000 houses were destroyed in the city of Tolima. They also lost 60% of their livestock, 30% of grain and rice crops, and 500,000 bags of coffee. The total estimated amount of damage is $1 billion. The biggest issue that caused so many deaths from this particular eruption was because there was a power outage in the cities surrounding the Nevado del Ruiz. And so since they didn't have any power, they couldn't communicate and receive the evacuation notice. And then another huge issue with this particular eruption was the fact that scientists observed that the volcano was rumbling in the previous December before it happened. And this was the first activity that had happened at this particular spot in over 140 years. And so because of this, some of the survivors blame the government officials for not taking this, like the scientists, seriously, and they didn't have the preventative measures already ready. And because the Colombian government officials decided to not take this threat seriously, they couldn't evacuate sooner, and the only thing that really could have made this eruption less deadly would have been evacuating sooner than later, because a lot of people were not able to evacuate as it was already too late to get out of their city. And so the Nevado del Ruiz is on the northernmost part of the Adrian Volcanic Arc. So it's up here, and then you can see it's right here on this map. And this arc is formed by the subduction zone of the Nazca Plate underneath the South American Plate. And so then this plate boundary is a convergent oceanic plate boundary, and because this volcano is formed on a subduction zone, it is a stratovolcano, and it is formed by layers of ash, lava, and pyroclastic flows. So the Nevado del Ruiz has a history of being a pretty active volcano. The most recent activity was an eruption that started in 2015, and it is still currently erupting. And it was also very active in the first half of the 1800s because there was an eruption in 1805, 1826, 1828, 1829, 1831, 1833, and 1845.